So do you think, is it true? I heard a stat that ABC lost $27 million after the debate because of all these financial, but all these advertisers pulling away from ABC because they did not like how the debate was handled.
No way.
27 million. And ABC, this I don't know, this is all hearsay, but then ABC said, yeah, we're not doing another debate because it costs us way too much money.
Well, I mean, look at how they structured it, right? Supposedly one of the moderators was a sorority sister to Kamala Harris, and one of the ABC execs, right, was a Kamala Harris supporter,
right,
and supposedly leaked the fucking questions out.
Who knows? We have to appreciate.
It's all speculation, right?
Well, so okay, first of all, that's legacy media. So I'm fairly certain if we were to look it up, and maybe I should right now as I'm saying it. When you say your next thing, I'll look it up. I'm fairly certain ABC is owned by somebody left-leaning. So
I think that all of everybody but Fox.
Yeah, Murdoch. I think he might be the
Murdoch is the only one who isn't left-leaning.
I think so.
I mean, almost all of... I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say the vast majority of the rich people are left-leaning, right? They get huge benefits from the Democratic Party right now.
Right.
So...
yeah. So anyway, so it makes sense that they would totally side with Harris right out the gate. The sorority sister thing is interesting. I'm not sure if that has... how much of a bearing do you think that has? I'm assuming it's accurate.
Let's just say that you're in a crowd of people and you find out somebody else is fucking a coastie. Are you naturally going to want to support that person?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. You have a common shared background. You're probably going to be able to just sit there and bullshit about the Coast Guard for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Right.
To a perfect stranger.
Yeah.
And you guys would get along great.
Yeah.
Just from that one little tiny shared knowledge, shared history. So, I mean, having a sorority from the same college, whatever, you probably got a lot of things that you can click and vibe with.
Got it. All right. I mean, I can see the background there.
Yeah.
But and I don't know. There was obviously a big difference. It didn't occur to me until the end of the debate that they were only fact checking Trump live.
Oh yeah. I saw it right away. I was like, why are the moderators? Why is there like a third debater on stage and it's the moderators against Trump?
Right.
I noticed it like right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I'm sensitive to it now. I'm like super sensitive. I'm like, you don't have like not one person did any fact checking on Kamala.
No.
And she kept bringing up Project 2025.
Yep.
I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm like, shut the fuck up, lying. You're lying.
Well, okay. So there is a lot of association between the Heritage Foundation and Trump. I'm just saying, there's a bunch of people that are super pro-Trump that are in his inner circle that are in the Heritage Foundation.
So the Heritage Foundation, every single election, releases a report on what the president could or should do to govern the United States better. Every single time a president comes into power, they write up this report. Okay. It's not.
Did they title it the project the year that they're going to come on?
I don't know. I think it's a different title every time, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it really matters, but they just said this one was Project 2025.
Okay.
Right. But you can look up every single time the Heritage Foundation releases a presidential thing. You know, they're like, this President Bush should do this.
Right.
Because he would do amazing if he did this.
Right.
This is how you succeed, Bush. You know, it's just guidelines that they recommend as a, think tank, basically.
Right.
Republican think tank. I don't know if they do it for Democrats or just Republicans, but, it'd be interesting to see if they've been doing it for Democrats too.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. There must be something I have yet to, you can imagine that I would have at least read some of it. I'm surprised you haven't read anything of it, but we should probably read this goddamn Project 2025 thing.
I've heard portions of it where they want to basically go into DC and break up the vast majority of the State Department and agriculture and education and move them out of DC to more rural areas, so that you get more diverse backgrounds from the world, not just people that want to live in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Like say your Department of Ag was out in South Dakota,
Right.
or some farming community.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you want your Department of Agriculture in an aggregation or aggregate? I can't even say the word. A farming community. Yeah, a farming community.
Yeah.
Haven't either had too much coffee or not enough coffee.
Right.
One of the two.
That
But
is
it's like,
interesting. It's to your point though. That's one of the big issues. Is like all of our government is in DC.
It
And
is.
DC, for those of you
It's a
who've not,
swamp.
if you've never been to DC, it is a very different that part of the East Coast, basically from New York down to DC, is a very unique vibe in this country. These people they're literally no bullshit. Okay, I'm not gonna say neither positive or negative things about them. It's just a character trait. No bullshit. They're abrupt. They're to the point. They're curt. They don't give two shits about you. If you're walking by something on the side of the street, no, fuck you. Don't talk to them. Don't engage. They're busy. They got whoever it is has something to do, and they're not friendly. They're proud about not being friendly. They're proud about the work they do and what they're doing and who they're haggling with, who they're hobnobbing with, who their friends are, things like that. It's very, very different compared to like the West Coast where, like Zach and I are from, the whole point of going out is to meet people and talk and whatnot. Very, very different. You wouldn't do that. You do that in New York, someone would tell you to fuck off. Like immediately, the first thing. And having been to New York and having done that and having been told to fuck off, it was like, okay, got it. Roger.
Understood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, it makes no sense to have agriculture out in DC. Those people, they know how to do DC things very, very well. They don't know how to go grow corn or soybeans or anything else.
Nope. Don't have any idea what a livestock even looks like.
No. No. So did you want to go through this thing just top of the order? Do you have any, so overall, what did you think of this debate?
Honestly, my first impression was I wish that Trump had stopped taking the bait on every little thing that Kamala, because she was trained on exactly how to get him fired up, right? Attacking his rallies. That Trump is real proud of that stuff. So, I mean, obviously he's going to take the bait. I wish that he hadn't, but thinking back on it after having a couple days to like really like let it sit in my head and everything, I think Trump did a really good job. And I've seen some other perspective out there where Trump actually showed passion for the American people and what's going on here. And Kamala was cool, calm, collected, like we weren't on a sinking ship right now. And I was like, that is a really good point. Like none of it mattered to her. You could see Trump had passion. And that was nice. So my overall thoughts, honestly, I honestly think Trump won that. Like thinking and looking back on it now, it's always that gut reaction when you see Trump talking like Trump and you're just caught up in that vibe that he gets off when he's irritated. It's immediately like, ugh, stop being that person. I like him better, when he's like reserved and just talking. Like I like him way better. Right. So my immediate reaction was that, because the bar was set so low, like Kamala only had to just not word salad, right? And keep her composure. And she did that. So like I was like, damn, like Kamala is like really coming out and doing a good job. But I didn't think she won it, but I thought it was more of a tie. But looking at it now after a couple days to ruminate on it, it definitely Trump. It was definitely a Trump win all day long.
Right. Yeah. I would say, so I watched it. I would definitely say the person who won is the person who you like going into it. That would be my opinion of it. Because it was, like you said, it was very 50-50. Each candidate kind of came out, presented who they really are, and what they're representing. And yes, to your point, there was legitimate passion behind Trump. Like he was irate, right? He was upset. And and he was criticized for being upset. It's like, no, he's upset because this is such a shitty situation for anybody to have to be up here debating. At least his policy, right? Just the corruption, and he's rallying against it. He literally brought up the court thing. He literally said, like, he referenced the fact that he was almost assassinated. Yeah, but they didn't want to bring that up. And to Kamala's point though, she was finally able to talk about policy, even though there wasn't a lot of substance. No, she had 4 points. And she brought them up over and over again. There wasn't a lot of substance there. I will say this though, like if you actually start reading into this, the real socialist roots of what she believes in is finally starting to come out. And so whether you're, you want the United States to be more socialist or not, you now at least have the opportunity to vote for a candidate who is very socialist. Like, and that is Kamala, right? She really wants, in her world, okay, if you go back to 2019, she did an interview where she was talking about healthcare, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And she wants to basically illegitimize all private healthcare. Like, not healthcare, but
insurance.
Insurance.
Health
there
insurance.
we go. She wants basically everybody to have
and that
public.
would be the same thing.
And
it would
really
be
not good. Like you think it'd be good until you realize that it's going to be like what do we have for the VA? What's that VA healthcare? What's it called?
TRICARE.
Until TRICARE for everybody. And then just go talk to people who are on TRICARE right now. If you're seriously interested, I'm not trying to be facetious here, but if you're I'm talking to you, listener. If you are like, hey, I like the idea of a more socialist country. We have a lot of money. We should redistribute some of it so that everybody can benefit. Gotcha. I like the spirit of that. However, in practice, go look at how TRICARE is handled. Go find a veteran who is on a socialist healthcare system, and then go ask them how it's working out for them. And you're going to be surprised or not. It's not very good.
There's long waits. And let me give you a little story. Okay. Jesse was there with me in Key West. The doctors in Key West were not amazing. I went in to get a filling redone because, my tooth was hurting and the dentist was like, oh yeah, this filling is sus. It's old. I'll just drill it out and put a new filling in. I was like, cool. In there, my face was numbed. Didn't feel anything. I got home. The numbing was wearing off and it just kept hurting. Kept hurting. I was like, what is going on? Right? So I call the clinic, and this was on a Friday. I had my appointment on a Friday. So I had to wait all weekend. Couldn't get a hold of anybody. Called on Monday, and I'm sleeping with like Oragel and a heat pad on my face because I'm like literally crying because my face hurts so bad. They can get me into an appointment in 2 weeks. Okay. And I was like, I am dying. And they're like, well, we can give you some Motrin, ibuprofen. Motrin, 800s.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so I went down, grabbed some Motrin, and they're like, I don't see anything wrong, but whatever, the dentist will look at you in 2 weeks. I'm basically eating Oragel for 2 weeks. Okay. I get into the dentist. They look and see what's going on. They exposed my nerve in my tooth when they were doing the cavity fill. Okay. I had to get 2 root canals and 2 crowns.
Ugh.
I basically lost 2 teeth.
Ugh.
Okay. Sitting there in pain for 2 weeks because of this shit.
Yep.
And that is your government socialist healthcare right there, people. So be careful what you wish for. Yeah, you got healthcare. But, you might also get an arm chopped off you did not want them to chop off.
Yep. And I mean,
they're not great at their jobs.
They are not. And they really don't give 2 shits.
No.
And so
they clock in, they do their 8, they go home.
Yep.
If they didn't have to see anybody or do anything, that was a good day for them.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else in the fucking government.
Yep. And if you recall, maybe like a year after that, I was out walking my then girlfriend's, now wife's dog, who saw something. It was early in the morning. It was like 5:30 in the morning or some shit like that. Taking her out to go do something. And she's a big pit bull. She sees something, wraps the leash around my feet as she bolts in the other direction. And I'm 6'5", and I come down hard, right on my face. Like, I'm barely awake as it is. I come back up, stand back up, and her name is Sammy. She realized she fucked up. She realized she hurt me. She comes running back over to see if I'm okay. And she helps me up. I literally have to get on her and stand back up. And I'm missing my front 2 teeth. Like, they were totally cracked out. And this was on a Friday.
Yeah.
And same fucking deal, right? I roll up into work. Oh, by the way, quick caveat. Zach rolls into the office on that Friday, and he's complaining about tooth pain. We give him nothing but shit. We're like, oh, what? You're not going to work out? Because you have a little toothache? You're not going to go work out, Zach? And you're like, fuck you all. It's a lot of pain. And we're like, no, you're a little pussy. That was the whole shop. All 8, 9 of us just gave you
everybody
endless
roasting.
Shit.
It's just a bunch of mean girls, man.
It really was. It was terrible. So anyway, fast forward a year. Now it's me, same shit. Except I have these 2 teeth totally gone, and everybody's just laughing their ass off. Meanwhile, I'm, like you, we're in agonizing pain. There's nothing we can do about it. It's like, fucking deal with it until you can see a dentist. I find it's same deal. It was like on Friday, and they're like, nah, you're missing your 2 teeth? Are you bleeding? No? Okay, great. We'll see you when we see you.
Yeah.
Hang in there. I was like,
I think we sang you a song. All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth or something like that.
I believe so.
I'm pretty positive we did.
The shop was ruthless. Ruthless.
Yeah.
And it was the same deal. I got the exact same treatment. I'm sitting there in pain, and you're like, oh, you're not going to work out? I was like, I hate you all so much.
Drink some water, take some 800s. You'll be fine.
No, I did. That's all I could do.
I mean, that's all you do.
Yep.
That's what you did.
Socialized healthcare brought to you by the United States government.
I could probably tell stories for the entirety of the rest of this podcast about how awful the medical was in the military.
Yep. Oh yeah, easily.
I think I had one good doctor in my 11 years. One good doctor.
Wow. Wow. I was in a head-on motorcycle accident. I was
remember
all
that.
sorts of fucked up. I'm in the hospital. I can't even move. And next thing you know, a government vehicle van rolls up to the hospital, and it's my chief and the warrant, and they're like, we're getting you out of here. It's like,
please don't.
And I was like, I can't even walk. Like, my knees are shattered, my wrists and my forearms are shattered. And like, yeah, well, it's time for you to go. And I was like, I guess you have that right. So they literally pulled me out of the hospital. And this was like after a week. And like, the hospital was like, I guess you can go, but you got a lot of work to do. Like, you got a lot of work. And so the hospital leaves me with like just all of these drugs. Like, you're getting a lot of pain meds just to get down to Key West. And I was like, oh boy. And so yeah, and that was it, right? Because it was time for TRICARE and the great Coast Guard healthcare system to pick up the bill and start trading.
You were causing the government too much money while you're sitting in that comfy, really nice commercial
what's
hospital.
Funny is that the state of Florida was paying the bill. They just wanted me back. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I couldn't work. I was like,
we could put you on help desk, man.
No, that's the thing. Like, I
the
was
few moments of lucidness.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was so funny, dude. We get back down there, and like I'm in Cass, and Morgan was like, our chief was like, was like, hey, when are you gonna come back to work? I was like, I literally have casts over my hands. Like, I can't even type. He's like, I think you could try. I was like, okay, fuck you. I'm gonna come in and sit there, and this is what I did.
Did he give you a book report to do because you couldn't type?
I have no idea. No. He had me sitting there doing like emails. I remember. I just sat there. I was like, okay, everybody's going to.
I remember.
Right, somebody bring me back lunch. I'm just gonna sit here, I guess. And Carlos is gonna drive me home because that's how this is gonna work. Oh God, the good old days. Anyway, okay, yeah, we could talk about this endlessly.
Yeah,
let's not.
Let's get back to the debate. Let's get back to the debate.
All right. So the first thing that she talked about, if you remember, she didn't even answer. Yeah. It was the economy.
Yeah. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And dodged.
She didn't answer. She didn't even,
it was like you in second grade being just the best dodgeball player that she possibly could.
She pitched her opportunity economy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been hearing her talk about the opportunity economy. I'll take, no tax on tips and overtime all day long. I wasn't even doubting my vote against Trump. But the moment he said no tax on overtime, I was like, who do I have to kill to get you in office right now?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, right. Harris totally dodged the question. That question is like, what the fuck did you do for the last 3.5 years? And she's like, oh, I can't answer this question. So I'm going to ask her another. I'm just going to start talking about this opportunity economy thing.
Yeah.
And then she actually attacked Trump, right? Saying that Trump's tariffs somehow cost Americans, each individual American, $4,000 more a year. What? And her response was because it costs more to import these goods, and corporations are passing that along to the consumer. That works in some. It's not an illogical thing to think. That's typically not how tariffs work, right?
Yeah.
It's not the. I don't even know what to think about it, honestly. But then you look at the actual results. U.S. inflation peaked after Trump left office.
Almost
Right.
2 years.
Yeah, and the GDP under Trump, on an average, was 2.5,
Yeah.
which was good.
Yeah.
And again, 2.5% GDP growth on a $1 trillion economy is crazy. We
Right.
talked about this previously a long time ago, but
Yep.
so anyway, I don't know. I thought it was interesting that she was going to attack him on that, like, and that was to your point earlier.
She
it was
kept
blatant
talking
lies.
She kept talking all this crap, on things that she had no business talking about, like, at all. It's like, attack him for, the way he speaks, attack him for, you know, his mannerisms or his verbal diarrhea, whatever,
Right.
but you can't attack him on action and policy. He did
Economy.
a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
As a president.
Yeah.
If you could never film him or talk to him or have him interact with people, amazing.
Yeah.
The number one best president we've ever seen in our world.
Ah, dude, I think we
I
might.
would die on that hill if you never heard Trump talk one time.
Yeah. If you, so we should do this. We should at some point. There's actually, I found it. There's a poll out there that allows people to view 2 columns of statistics.
Yep.
And one is Biden and one is Trump, and you can say which one do you like more. It's just stats. It's just numbers, and then you pick
totally
the one,
down.
Exactly. Trump's look a lot better.
Trump's look amazing.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, what you're talking about, So that's even like 5 minutes into the debate, and I'm already like, here we go.
Yeah.
She
dodged the first question, and they even called him out. By the way, to CNN's credit, I can't remember who the anchor was. It was one of the brothers, but literally called her out right at the first break. It was like, and she dodged the first question. And I was like, good for you. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
They covered that up.
No, like, she came right out and was like, you're going to hear a lot of big lies coming out of Trump's mouth, attacking his character and everything like that. And, he might exaggerate a little bit, but he's shines a spotlight on the things that actually matter in the country. He tackles the things that nobody wants to talk about. He did it in 2015, talking about the border crisis. We had a problem. It was a big problem. It has grown to be uncontrollable, because of mismanagement of our government.
The what's interesting too, to your point, actually, that's kind of like this podcast, honestly, is like, we're not going to go in and look at every single statistic. We are not, the Charlie Kirk of fucking podcasts. Like, neither of us have the patience for it. Like, we don't live and breathe academically politics, right?
Yeah.
And so why would, like, and Trump is certainly not either. He's got a life to run. He doesn't have time to read book after book after book on all these things and retain all that information. He's got a country to run. And so, yeah, he will speak in bigger, grandiose terms, to your point, just to draw attention to the thing, which we're actually going to get to later. So after that, they kind of moved into Trump and tariffs, right? Where they're like kind of asking about how that worked out. And ultimately, Trump's point was that the tariffs on Chinese importations of steel, benefited, netted like what, a few $100 billion, over the course of his presidency. And that he said that wasn't passed on to the consumer.
Right.
And then meanwhile, Harris was like, no, inaccurate. That trade deficit was the biggest in history. I'm not sure how she could say that, but she made the claim that Trump's trade deficit was the largest imbalance in the nation's history.
Well, she didn't have moderators fact checking her. That's how she could say whatever she wanted to say.
And wasn't it Trump? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to go back to those eras, and I was anti-Trump for those 4 years, all 4 years, and then the following 3.5 years, very anti-Trump. But wasn't Trump like killing all sales of like technology to China? Like, if you're trying to sell a chip to China, like, he was not going to allow it, right?
Right.
And then Harris
said a lot of technology bans because of the IP theft.
Yeah.
It was huge. It was rampant, and he was like, "Guess what? No more. Cut off."
And then Harris said the opposite, the exact opposite.
Yeah. And he made a really good point in the debate too. He was like, if my tariffs were so bad, why do you still have them in place? Right.
Bazing.
And I'm like, oh, that's a bell ringer right there.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of his better points in the debate. I was like, nailed it.
Yeah. And then, so the U.S. trade deficit under Trump increased by 22%. in our favor, reaching a peak of I think it was like 600 or 860 billion or something like that. So it's finally we were actually getting a lot more out of China. So
Yeah.
and then of course the consumer good prices they did increase, but not a whole lot, not enough to say that it's costing Americans $4,000 a year. I mean,
Right.
there's how many Americans? 350
350.
So 350 million times 4,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's not accurate at all. Anyway.
No. I mean, she was running around lying. I've got a list of lies, and we can go over that after we cover more of the debate, because otherwise we'll just be rabbit hole, rabbit hole, rabbit hole.
Right. I mean, we can do it however you want to cover it. I mean, speaking of lies, so right up next was it's not really lies. This is actually some solid policy differences. Abortion. Trump is pro states, and Harris wants it to be a federal law. They have some good points, kind of across the board.
Both of them were hitting it. For me on the abortion, like, you want abortion to be available, but you also don't want it to be used as birth control, right?
Right.
So it's a fine line, and you got to just also realize that it doesn't really affect you. Yes, people are getting children are getting killed, right? But it isn't your child. So let people live their lives,
right. I think I don't think you and I should have a debate on abortion or a conversation on abortion because, well, for obvious reasons.
Right.
And I used to
I'm a pro-choice person, but I look at it differently, right?
I used to be more pro-choice until I started reading into
it's awful
onto the whole system.
And morally, ethically, I am not a pro-choice.
I don't think I can be anymore either.
Yeah, because like legitimately, it's like within 10 or 15 days, you've gotten baby parts forming, right? I mean, it's relatively quick.
Yes, it is. It's
really
quick.
And Bill Burr does a really good job of breaking it down to like fundamentals, because he equates it to a cake for me. And I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
He's like, you mix up all the dough, you throw it in the oven, and so long as you don't take it out and throw it against the fucking wall, it comes out a cake every time.
Right. Well, a cake with a nervous system. So if you really want to look at it, and what started changing my mind on this whole thing is the fact that these you can measure pain in these fetuses at a very young age, very very young, like you're saying, just
very
weeks. Young. And so, just if it was truly just organic material that had nothing to do with anything, like sure, it's just some cells coming together and they're going to eventually become a human being.
Lie.
I'd be like,
get
it out
they
of there.
Sell you on, right?
It is, and because like that nervous system forms awfully fast.
I think it's one of the first things.
It has
nervous system and heart.
Yeah, and so and anyway, I was talking into it, but so anyway, that's a good point though. If depending on if you're a Harris supporter or a Trump supporter, that is a bifurcating issue. Like there is you're definitely voting for one thing versus another. It has nothing to do with the economy. Right. Definitely what you believe in.
Right.
And I think we really need to get control. We need to rein in the goddamn conversation around abortion and really establish some truths so that we can all know what the hell's going on with Planned Parenthood, especially. Let's just start with Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood is so awful. It's such an awful organization. When they're just doing birth control and like talking about, how to plan out your pregnancy and stuff like that, that's fantastic. It's the abortion portion of Planned Parenthood that is not a good portion. I mean, there have been people that called into Planned Parenthood, donating money for abortions, but they specifically wanted those abortions to be minorities. And they said, I do not want my money to go to anything but minority abortions. And Planned Parenthood would be like, oh, yeah, of course, we can earmark your funds specifically for minority abortions. Why would you even allow that if you weren't targeting specific people? Right.
Right. It's
So
insidious. But again, we can't even get into it because like
that's what this whole podcast will be about today if we get into it.
yes, it really will be, and it's kind of eye opening. And I was just commenting this the other day on one of our posts. We were talking about just random, Egyptian artifacts and symbols being found across the country, the United States, and it's really strange, right? Very, very strange. And it's not even conspiracy. You just have to you just Google it, and you'll see some sets of facts that will lead you to see that this is a thing. It's a phenomenon that's happening. And of course, it sounds deranged. It makes you sound like an insano, right? Like there's mummies, there's there's hieroglyphs. No, you guys are nuts. And of course, if you are thinking about it just on the surface, yeah, we sound like fucking crazy people. But then you literally do one Google search, and then boom, it's everywhere. And then all that information is available to you. And then you have to critically reason, like, what the hell's going on here, right? Then you actually have to have the mental thought, have to critically think. People don't want to do that. And this is another one. It's the second you crack open Planned Parenthood and you actually get under the hood, it's like, oh, I wish I knew this earlier.
Start with the founder. That'll be where you get down a rabbit hole that you don't want to be into.
Yep.
Start with the founder, her beliefs, her ideologies, the reason that she put her Planned Parenthoods in the neighborhoods she put them in at the very beginning. I think in the 60s or 70s when they started it up, Yeah.
Okay, let's move right along. Move right along. The next part they talked about was border security.
Yeah.
So in the most ironic statement of the entire, I think for me anyway, of the entire debate was when she criticized Trump's border policy, Trump's border history. It was like, wait. You can't reverse Uno this card. Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like, the dude shut down the border to the best of his ability. Like, nobody was crossing. Like, literally, like, there were days where there was no crossings.
Yeah. I think a total, right? And maybe you told me this and I had to go double check it, but I think it was like 2 million people in the 4 years that he was in. Something like that.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have a wall until 2019.
Right.
So 2 million. That's not that bad. I mean, it's bad.
He wanted it to be zero, and he was on his way.
Yeah.
Actually, at the very end, he was finally realizing that goal. Like, the crossings per month were really small.
Yeah, it was in the hundreds, not the thousands.
Yeah, exactly. And for what it's worth, I have a good friend in the Border Patrol, and under Trump, there was a spike in crossings and whatnot because the United States was looking better and better, more people wanted to get in, and then Trump clamped that shit, right?
Yeah.
And towards the end, he was doing a lot better. Like, he was this guy. Border Patrol is a dangerous job, just from where it's at, like, and the work that they have to do. And he was in and out of the hospital all the time, and just because of chasing person after person after person through the goddamn desert. And then towards the end, though, his life finally started to settle down. Like, it wasn't so nuts, and he actually had the support he needed. He had walls being built. He had less to patrol.
Right.
And now it's at peak insanity. Anyway, so back to so what did you think about this whole conversation?
I thought it was something that Kamala should have dodged completely. She shouldn't have talked about it. She shouldn't have been pointing the finger at Trump. Like, how do you say that crap with a straight face? How does she come up in front of the American people and say any of the crap that she said with a straight face? Like, she should have been hit with a band hammer immediately.
Right.
Like, mic cut off, misinformation, been treated like every conservative has been treated since COVID. Like, that was ridiculous.
And it happened immediately. The second they took office, it was like the first few months of their office, we actually hit record numbers, record crossings.
Yeah,
because they
didn't make Kamala the border czar, right? In the first month, it was within the first year, because they saw a huge spike and they were like, we need to figure out the root cause of this.
Well, after they repealed everything,
after they lifted all of Trump's frickin' border crossings.
Right.
His remain in Mexico policy, all of it,
Right.
Day one, Biden signing that crap to remove all of the executive orders that Trump had put into place to reduce migrant crossings,
Right. Right. One of the points Kamala made was that, you know, migrant crime compared to, you know, just just citizens is lower than is lower, right? And so which that just from pure stats numbers, that's accurate. However, the statistic is misleading because fundamentally you want the number of illegal aliens coming into your country to be zero. So the
Right.
fact that there is any crime is unacceptable because they shouldn't
Yeah.
be here in the first place. So
Right.
the statistic does a really good job of hiding the problem by
Right.
coding it in this you know, this fallacy, this alternate reality where this crime is okay because it's not as bad as some other ratio, which is completely bullshit.
I mean, you've got every single person that came into the country already breaking a crime, which they probably didn't include that into the stats, right? So just by existing in the United States of America without going through any port of entry or coming through legal means, getting a visa, whatever it is, you're already breaking the law.
Yeah.
Okay. It may not be a felony, but it is still breaking the law. And then at that point, anything else that happens is on the administration. Every single murder, rape, any serious crime that these people have committed, right? That is directly on the administration for not doing a better job of securing the border. So
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
she didn't have a single leg to stand on. She's been in office for 3.5 years. She was directly in charge of the whole problem. Like that.
I think people understand that.
Yeah.
I think the people that want to open their eyes and actually look at what's happening really understand that Kamala had, if you want to call her a border czar, if you want to say that she was in charge of the root cause of some of this immigration. Either way,
Why not? Why not
had,
just call her vice president of the United States?
Right.
She's vice president of the United States.
Yeah.
She is number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Biden, obviously a vegetable. That means that Kamala Harris is president.
Right. Right. No, you're not wrong. And so that for people who actually want to be critical about this, well, it's very easy, you know, series of events here that Kamala failed on the border. There's no debate here. There's you. I don't care how zealous you are, how pro Kamala you are. She failed on the border. Now you might support listener might believe you might have the belief that we need more immigration into the country and that illegal immigration is an okay way to come and that people should be deserting their homelands and come to the United States because for prosperity. You might hold that belief, which is fine. I'm not going to count that against you. That's whatever. But we need to appreciate that in a world where we have this vision of law and order, that all these people are crossing illegally and we really don't have the infrastructure to handle it. And so if your position is that this is okay, then Kamala should come out and talk about a way how she's going to fix all of this and make it okay for 9, 12, 11, 20, however many million people are going to cross the border every 4 years. She needs to at least fix this. Anyway.
My wife and I get into this all the time. She's got friends that came illegally to the United States over years, she talks about how blessed they were to make it into America for a better life. And I'm like, I agree with you. They were blessed to be in America. They are blessed to be in America. It is a good place to make it. Normally, it's a good place to make a life. Okay. But you also have to remember that for every single person that comes here illegally, you're tying up the system for the people that want to come here legally. Okay. You are making those resources smaller and smaller. And so the good applicants that are trying to do the right thing can no longer come to the United States and make our country a better place legally. Okay. The only way to do it is to fly to Mexico and cross into the border. Okay. Illegally. And now that is what everybody's doing. And that is the way that people are coming across. There are no more legal ways to do it because all of the resources are tied up in this illegal mess that we have. Okay. So cutting lines is not heroic and admirable to get into whatever destination you want to get into. It's not a good way to go about it. It causes huge amounts of problems. I mean, that journey is already dangerous, but now you have criminal elements taking advantage of people that are trying to seek a better life. And it is an incredible nightmare for everybody involved. So that it's a situation and a thing that gets me really heated up.
Right.
Because like everyone's like, you don't have a heart. I'm like, I do care about these people, right? I don't want to see every single migrant woman and child get raped as they're trying to come up from Central America through Mexico into the United States, and then have an incredibly harsh journey where they might die. If we got rid of that, there would be no more heinous acts against humanity on their trip to America, right?
Yeah, I mean, just to put this into an analogy, Zach. So if I'll give you the scenario, right? Two people go into a hospital, right? So person A gets there first. Person A is in some sort of digestive distress, massive pain coming from their stomach. They don't know what's going on, whatever. Another person walks in. Person B comes in second. Broken arm, obviously bad, a little bit of blood, whatever. Also in lots of pain. Neither of these is life-threatening, but both need to be addressed, and decently quickly, because now the longer it takes for you to address that patient, the longer they're going to be in pain, okay? If you're a doctor, all right, you see this situation, you're like, okay, who was here first? First person comes in, we're going to take care of you, and then we'll get to the second person next. And that's perfectly fine, and that is by oath, right? The Hippocratic oath, whatever it is, right? They need to go, and they're just there to, help people. And in some of these scenarios, it's a first come, first serve, scenario. So now if you actually colorize this black and white picture, okay, the first person was an illegal immigrant. The second person was an American veteran. All right, now the American veteran is just chilling for longer queues for them because the VA has already failed them. And this illegal immigrant, because they got there first, is getting treated first.
100%.
And so as a human, I feel for them both. But as an American, like, I want that veteran taken care of first. I want the citizen addressed. Like, if there's extra resources, by all means, help the illegal immigrant. But we have a healthcare and an economy that's paid for by American citizens. So American citizens should be at the front.
Yeah, they bought and paid into the system their entire lives.
Right.
The infrastructure and everything that we have has been purchased and built by Americans for Americans. Okay. There's no reason we can't help out a little bit, but our charity does better in countries where it can fix problems in their country so they don't have to migrate here. So we don't have to increase healthcare and schooling and infrastructure to house these people, right?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with having a strong country and then doing some charity work. Right? You don't have to let everybody move to America because then you lose the dream. It all goes to shit.
Exactly. It's not a black and white scenario. It's not. But the way the problem is, right, is Kamala wants more of this. She wants more migration. If she can increase the borders even more, she wants to do that. That's the direction she wants to go. She wants to increase taxes to give these people more money. Yeah. She's already like California. Or I think it might be nationwide. I'm not sure. I think it might just be California. Just signed a bill. Might be. I can't remember now. I'm sorry. I'm a little sick. But a bill was signed and passed that will give illegal immigrants the ability to find $25,000 for down payment on their house.
Yeah, that's California. Yeah,
that's California.
I don't think it's nationwide yet. It's just California.
Exactly.
Right
So that's and where is Kamala Harris from? California. Nancy Pelosi. California. And so these hyper-social things, these are taxes that the American citizen is paying, not the illegal alien. They're not paying taxes. They're not. They're getting money under the table. And again, so the whole process works. Anyway, let's move on. And unless you have anything else you want to add here.
Nope.
I'm just going to say one word and let you I will let you drive the whole next sentence, okay, or the whole next conversation.
Okay.
Charlottesville.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the biggest lie that she told on the stage that night. It has been debunked for 4 effing years. Okay. Like I said in a previous podcast when we were talking about election interference, right? 3 groups of people in Charlottesville on that day You had protesters and counter protesters about statues being removed, I believe. I believe that was the root cause of it. People that were like, don't destroy our history, and people that were like, destroy the history. Okay. He's talking about those people. He was saying those are the people that are very fine people on both sides. Not the fucking neo-Nazis that were marching through the streets with the damn tiki torches. He has denounced that. It is on video. I have a video on my phone right now. I think I sent it to you. Denouncing it.
Yeah.
It has been debunked. Everybody knows it's been debunked. Biggest lie on the debate stage that night.
Yep.
And she told some whoppers. I mean, at least 10.
Right.
10 gigantic fucking lies.
Yep.
No fact checking. None. Let's
She
move
did not
on to the next topic because I'm gonna get fired up about this shit.
Yeah. Well, this is a good one though, and this is kind of like, again, it goes back to the election interference that big media wields through their selective censorship of topics, right? And this is a good one where they're purposely misleading the American people, trying to make Trump look like a racist in this example. And they say it over and over and over again. Like it was a lie then. There's a very good chance that maybe somewhere a reporter, one or maybe two, misunderstood Trump in the moment, reported the thing, they were corrected, and then they would go back and update their journalism. Say, hey, we got this wrong. Sorry, I misunderstood the guy. But it wasn't just one or two journalists that got it wrong in the moment. It was literally everybody, except for Fox, everybody. And they won't drop it. They won't drop it. They just keep saying it over and over and over again. And it is a known lie. And so if you are listening to this now and you're like, no, Jesse and Zach, Trump did say that, just go back and listen to it for yourself. Just go.
Go watch the video.
Don't go to CNN. There. Don't go to MSNBC. Don't go to ABC. Don't go to CBS. Go to fucking YouTube.com. Go find the speech and listen to it. Just do it yourself. I think it's like a minute and a half is all you need. Take a minute and a half out of your life to go listen to it. And you will hear for yourself exactly what he's talking about.
He literally says in the speech, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Anyway.
You can, and another thing that really pisses me off is every single time one of these freaking mainstream medias get on with Trump, right? This is huge in 2020. They look him in the eyes and they say, why haven't you denounced white supremacy yet? Every single time they had an interview with him. And he's like, what are you talking about? I denounce it. It's denounced. I've denounced it 1,000 times. White supremacy is stupid. Move on. He has said that so many times. There are interview after interview after interview of him saying this shit. All you have to do is go look at it. He is not a racist.
The thing is, and this goes
right back to the fact that I have to defend him because people are so stupid. Pisses me off.
The problem is people won't even go look it up, especially that last point you made because one, again, these same legacy media platforms aren't going to air that. They're not going to record it. So when Trump defends himself and says exactly that, I'm not a white supremacist, nor do I support it. They're not going to air that footage, and two, they're not going to put it up. They're not going to record it somewhere else for you to watch it, like on YouTube. You're going to have to go find some other journalism.
It's there though.
Somebody else just to watch it for yourself, regardless of what you think about some of these former alt-right media places, which I think they're hocus pocus for the majority of it. But what they do is capture Trump speaking. And they don't just cut him off. They don't just take little snippets out of context. You can actually go watch some of these things. So it's important for you to just hear the man for himself without the context of, some pundit, some talking head on one of these fucking legacy media. You can't do that.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. January 6th. We already talked about this, but let's just revisit this momentarily.
Another lie. Right. It's another lie. And she has the audacity the day before, 9/11. She's sitting here September 10th saying that January 6th is the worst attack on American soil since freaking World War II, the Civil War. That's what it was.
The Civil War.
Civil War. Holy crap. There's a laundry list of things that have happened in the United States since the Civil War, lady.
Yeah.
Like,
I think interestingly enough, she didn't even go back and talk about the civil rights movement, like
nothing.
any of that. Like, apparently that was all way more, that was just less impactful than January 6th.
January 6th, where the FBI incited a fucking bunch of rioters to do stupid ass shit. And like, what is there? They arrested 100 people out of the 2 million people that were there.
I think so. So far, like over 1,000 people have been charged.
Still, that's
basically, if you step foot in the Capitol, they're after you. That's how this works out. That's what the Department of Justice is doing. Even though if you watch the videos, there's like they were literally like kind of like let in at some point. You look at people kind of.
People were let in.
The people
were
let
cops
in.
Literally took the ropes down and were like, "Come on inside."
Yeah,
they were walking with that dude with the buffalo hat on through the Capitol.
Yeah, they were giving. It looked like they were. Again, I can't remember everything, but it looked like they were giving him a tour.
They were bullshitting.
Yeah,
having a good time.
Yeah, and then there was the other guy.
It was not an attack.
No,
it was not an attack.
So I mean, don't get me wrong. There was still a lot of shit happening.
Yeah,
parts of this got heated and violent. Right, 148 law enforcement were injured. There was that one lady that was killed because the cop just shot into the crowd.
Ashley Babbitt,
yeah. But like, and so there was things happened. But again, there was so Trump did not go and tell everybody to go attack the Capitol. He wanted peaceful protest.
Yeah.
He literally said, "Go and peacefully protest."
Yeah, I mean, he was saying it at his speech down the road, peacefully protest. He said it multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
said it the day before.
Yep. It was we already talked about January 6th, but January 6th is an interesting one. We're gonna end up tapping into that, I think, more later on because
I'm sure that we're gonna cover multiple things multiple times. I mean, I'm chomping at the bits to talk about the assassination again because there's just more and more stuff that's coming out. They got a report coming out imminently about how many faults there were within the Secret Service. Yeah. And I am super excited about that. I was listening to a congresswoman from Pennsylvania talking about it. It's on the news this morning.
There's no. Okay, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it because then we'll never move on. Okay. So they go from January 6th to the Russian invasion.
Yeah. And Trump is like, never would have happened if I was in office. And I love him saying that because it wouldn't have happened.
Well, I think we can look back and say it did not happen while he was in office.
It did not happen. I mean, Putin was already in, right? Crimea, right?
Yep.
He was already in Ukrainian territory during Obama. And Obama let him do it.
Obama did nothing.
He did nothing. There's a red line. Past the red line, well, whatever. Nothing.
Exactly. Yep.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are in office. All of a sudden, there's another attack. It's not a coincidence. They're letting him do it, right? They're having backdoor meetings where they're letting him do it. I mean, and it is beneficial to the United States because we can come and have a proxy war with Russia, and our soldiers aren't getting killed. And we get resources, right? There's a bunch of resources that we get. The Ukraine has a metric fuck ton of rare earth minerals, and they have great harvesting, grain crops, all kinds of fertilizer. We get a ton of stuff from Ukrainian people.
Right.
So there is a huge benefit to having them in debt to us and wanting to sell their product to us.
Right.
So,
and there was a real
for cheap.
Yeah, there's still a real. You have to go back to the Cold War, right? So the U.S., United States, and Russia, we are on better terms today than we were in the late 50s, certainly, especially with the Korean War, right? We are again fighting each other. We were actually fighting each other during the Korean War. A lot of people don't realize that you had Russian pilots, in North Korean MiGs on one end, and American pilots in South Korean weaponry on the other side. And they were literally fighting each other in the air.
Yeah.
You have some of the best stories of the Air Force occurred during the Korean War. Okay, anyway.
We've been in proxy wars with Russia since the
Afghanistan, Iraq, you name it, right?
All of the Desert Storms, yeah.
Okay, so, but anyway, you probably say that our relationship though has been getting a little bit better year after year after year, and then suddenly, okay, if you start maybe with maybe I think it was with Obama, all right, NATO just starts to expand like crazy, and they're slowly but surely getting closer and closer to the Russian borders, and Russia. And we have to understand that we're still enemies, right? We're working through nuclear deproliferation. We're doing a whole bunch of things that are ultimately making the world a better place by our cooperation. But behind the scenes, still super tense. We're still not on talking terms. We're both, CIA, FSB, KGB, GRU, SFB, all still at it. Okay, they're behind the scenes doing the little murky shadow for wars, and NATO's expansion specifically is the biggest cause of alarm for Russia because they see that as an encroachment of their territory. Because the closer NATO gets to Russia, the more they feel like they have to defend themselves. Because we're literally putting these these Patriot missile systems right on the border of Russia.
Right.
Which, if you're Putin or you're a Russian and you grew up under the thumb of the West, well, now it's almost as if you're advancing your battalions, your tanks and shit like that right up to the border of Russia. That's what they feel. They feel that pressure. And
could you imagine if China put any kind of infrastructure on the border of Canada and the United States?
Right.
I mean, that would not be kosher.
No.
For us. For anybody that was a free-thinking American, we'd be like, oh, that's not good.
We would, if the United States found that Mexico was working with China, Mexico working with China to install Chinese offensive missile systems right on the border of California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, we would lose our shit and destroy it immediately. We wouldn't think twice. It'd be over. And so now we have these Patriot missile systems going up right against the Russian border, or soon the potential's there. Because now, we literally have Kamala going in there to negotiate NATO agreements and things like that. How do we get Ukraine into NATO? And then that's when Putin lost it. Putin's like, no, fuck this. Let's start the war now while it's in Ukraine and not on our border. That's Putin's thinking. So we could go into this, but to suggest that Putin just decided to attack Ukraine just for the funsies, without provocation, is crazy. Don't get me wrong. He should
plenty of provocation in his head. Yeah.
He was provoked. But I still don't agree that he should have. Provoked or not, he should not have gone into Ukraine. Right. He shouldn't have. He should have found another way to do it. But he did. And that was the result of lots of blue in our government for a long time. Yeah.
You back a dog into a corner, they do unpredictable things.
Yes.
So
anyway, and so Harris's point there was we're just, we're defending our allies. And Trump's like, he was trying to articulate this. He didn't do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
But he ultimately said that, and he was accurate in saying that he has better ties with world leaders, which is important in a president. You need that.
Yeah.
Even our enemies. Keep your enemies close.
Yeah, for sure. And she's sitting there trying to talk about how he had love letters with Kim Jong. And it's like, dude, Little Rocket Man is a fucking problem. It needs to be addressed. He's the only U.S. president to actually go into North Korea and have a conversation with the guy. He just wants attention, Give him some attention. You didn't lose anything. You made the world a better place.
Right. Did you hear why he went to North Korea? Like what he was doing? Did you hear this?
I can't remember. Oh, yeah. He was telling them about how he could have an economy like America's in South Korea. Yeah.
And then Kim Jong-un was like, I can't do that. And he's like, why? He's like, because China wants this. And China kind of runs this country. Like, I'm just here doing what China tells me to do. He's like, okay, hold that thought. Goes down to China, talks to Xi Jinping. He's like, hey, knock it the fuck off. All right. And so he was building this trust. He was trying hey, we're going to unfuck North Korea. We're going to modernize this country. We're going to get them back on the world map. And of course, that was just shot to shit by pretty much every fucking person in our American intelligence agency, because we thrive on this war.
If you really think about how close we were to serious world peace at that moment in time, right?
Yeah.
That's catastrophic. to the military-industrial complex.
Yes.
Okay.
And how much do we spend on our military every year?
$700 to $900 billion. Not million. That's a B.
Billion. It would
Bravo.
be insane to think that people who are making that kind of money are just going to not worry about it going away.
I mean, you think the energy industry murking investors and inventors is bad. You want to see something to go to war for, it's $1 trillion annually.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So they moved on to healthcare after that. We already kind of talked about this. Did you have it?
There's nothing there. I got nothing else to talk about there. Yeah. I'm ready to start talking about our lives if you are.
The climate change was interesting. I think they kind of wrapped up with climate change was the last one.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. So, so ultimately net, Trump's like, hey, climate change is a hoax. And Harris laughed. She's like, ha, 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 ha. Her little Joker laugh. Of course, it's not a joke. It's all this carbon and whatnot is going into the atmosphere and it's causing the heat. I thought this was interesting. You know, a paper just came out, I think it was last week, that conclusively demonstrated that, yes, there is an increase in CO2 in the air due to the human race, but it is negligible. The amount of CO2 going to the atmosphere it has literally no bearing on climate change. And we need to, as
I really thought we were going to be opposite sides of this one.
No, I just read the paper. And so I've actually been following this for quite some time. And so, yes, the Earth is warming. Yes, we absolutely, as a human species, need to figure out what the fuck is going on so we can, make our next move. And we need to be right. And so if we are hooked on a fallacy, then we're not going to make the progress we need to make because we're going to fix a problem that doesn't exist. And so if the problem that everybody thinks is CO2 in the air, when it's actually something else, then we're just running right into disaster, unmitigated disaster.
Yeah. I'm going to make a couple statements here. A, I would love to live in a cleaner, greener world. Okay. I'm not anti beautiful world, right? As a conservative man and person, I believe in having a beautiful, green, amazing earth. Okay. So I'm not one of those fucking weirdos that's like, let's rip every tree down and destroy the planet. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I grew up in a time before plastic. Okay. I remember when we got paper sacks, and I remember the big push to move from plastic or from paper to plastic to save the trees. And I'm just going to use this as my main point here. Look at the damage that we've caused to the planet by using a gut knee-jerk reaction of moving from paper to plastic. Okay. That was huge and detrimental to the planet. Plastics alone has caused more damage to this planet than CO2 ever will. Okay. Farmers in Nebraska release more oxygen in the atmosphere than we do counterproductive with CO2. Like if you're worried about changing the balance of the air. But do you remember, Jesse, back when we were probably high school, maybe a little bit after high school, when Al Gore started releasing all those commercials about the poor polar bears and how they were extinct and their wildlife, their natural habitat was disappearing? Roughly 20,000 polar bears left on the planet. Mm-hmm. Guess how many are left now? The last time I checked.
I have no idea.
Over 60,000. Obviously, something changed. Maybe just we are not hunting them anymore. Right. But their natural habitat wasn't affecting their population. Okay, because if memory serves me, we were supposed to be getting worse and worse and worse since the 90s every year. And that's been fucking almost, I mean, it's definitely been 30 years, but it's almost 40 years. Right? But we've had an explosion of polar bears. So that's one metric that they can't use anymore.
Right.
Do you remember the ozone layer?
Yeah.
That healed.
Yeah.
Another one formed. That healed. Another one formed. That healed. It's a cycle. It happens.
Right. It has nothing to do with CO2.
It had nothing to do with aerosol cans.
No.
That we were told.
No.
Okay. These people the alarmists will tell you that Florida, as of 2006, will be completely underwater.
Yes.
That was a talking point 40 years ago. Guess what? Florida is still not underwater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Key West.
They are
When we were
trying.
in Key
Yeah.
West, we were told the island was sinking, and that
Yeah.
by the time we came back to visit, it would be gone.
Still there. Still there.
The same beaches and the same spots.
Still great drinking down Duval Street.
Yes.
Okay. They tell you this crap because there's money involved in it. If you don't live on the beach, rich people can live on the beach. Okay.
Right.
Rich people don't buy beachfront property if they think it's going to disappear in their lifetime. I'm just going to throw that out there for you. Okay. So, yes, there is some truth behind climate change, but yes, it is also a hoax. Two things can be true.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to understand there's an incredible amount of money behind the Green New Deal and climate change and global disruption, whatever name they want to call it today.
Right.
There is a huge amount of that. And you want to know the damage that masking and gloves and all of that stuff did to our environment? That's a travesty.
Yeah.
But we all masked up. We all put gloves on. We threw them away every 15 seconds.
Yep.
That's a huge amount of natural disaster to our environment.
Dude, microplastics.
Way worse than any other coal plant that you've ever seen.
Yes. And so I'm with you there. So yes, I think we can all agree that we want freer, cleaner energy. Yes, the sun is the most abundant source of free energy possibly out there. What we need to recognize, though, is that the technology that we have to convert, radiation into something that can drive a motor is actually still rather costly. It produces a lot of waste, and it's really hard to recycle these things, and so we end up just throwing them away.
It's impossible to recycle it.
You can't recycle a battery, right? Especially these bigger ones, and so
even solar panels. Yeah. Solar panels end up in the dump after 10 years, man.
Right. And so,
they're not recyclable.
What we don't want to do is we don't want to push this too hard and then end up in a worse place than we were previously because we accidentally poisoned some water systems or we did something stupid.
Which is going to happen.
Yeah, it is. We 100% need to get out of the stranglehold of like OPEC and these petrol, producing companies. 100%. But at the same time, it's not like we're in a race against CO2. That's not what we're in a race against. We're in a race against fucking, the military industrial complex causing nuclear war.
Yeah.
That's a reality. We're in a race against this crazy economy of ours, specifically tanking. Because if we go into a massive recession, the world follows us, right? Yeah. And if we fall into a Great Depression because we have decided to go into hyperinflation, then the world's fucked. We're fucked. We're all done. So those are real problems. Carbon dioxide in the air is not a problem.
No.
Yeah. And like I said, luckily this study just came out demonstrating this. It's like, there is no way that humans can produce enough carbon dioxide to actually impact the climate. It's just complete hearsay. Anyway.
Now, if you go into LA, you'll believe it. You'll be like, oh my gosh, this
pollution is a whole other thing. But pollution and climate change are two different problems.
They absolutely are.
So fix one, but don't think you're fixing the other.
Right.
Anyway, that ends the debate. They had some closing remarks. It was whatever, more of the same. But I mean, if I was sitting down, just my final thoughts here, just generally, I really think they both did well. I was less impressed with Kamala, but I'm biased, so I knew that's going in. I think Trump did a fine job. Trump was Trump, and so if you don't like the way Trump speaks, then you're not going to like the way he speaks here because he doesn't change. He's going to keep being himself. But I think he did a good job. He kind of took on these guys. He had the biggest mic drop moment in there when he said, what did he say? What was the quote?
They're eating the dogs and cats.
No. Just a second. It was when Kamala interrupted him. He was like, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a second.
Wait. I'm speaking.
Yeah. Like, please.
That was
speaking.
a good one.
Sound familiar? Oh my God, dude.
Her face was priceless.
Slowly went from smiley Joker laughing to like pissed off. Oh my God. So funny. So funny. So good. She did not expect that She did not expect that at all.
She was not prepped for that.
I don't think they prepped Trump for that either. I think that was just Trump being Trump, just in the moment, just boom. Anyway, all right. What do you got, man? You got a list.
All right. So, gun control. They got into gun control, and she's like, "Don't worry, we're not going to confiscate your firearms." But she has been all over the place talking about mandatory buyback programs. Mandatory buyback programs.
In 2020, she was talking about it during her
huge.
campaign.
I mean, I'm sure she even talked about it in 2022. She's definitely talked about it in the last 4 years, right?
And we could find mandatory that. For everybody who's listening.
Mandatory.
Go watch. This is live. She was interviewing live, and they asked her, "So, what is your buyback program? Is this going to be? Is your buyback program going to be mandatory?" And she said, "It will be mandatory."
Yeah. So, gun buyback. That's lie number one, right? Charlottesville. Obviously, we've already talked about that one. Abortion. She goes in and she talks about how there are no places where it is illegal or legal to kill a baby at 9 in the third trimester, basically at 9 months, at the end of the third trimester. And that is absolutely incorrect. Okay. There were several states, New York being one of them. And I think West Virginia, because, DC, but there were several places where that was going down. And I can pull up multiple sources for anybody that wants that. So that was a huge lie, right? Defund the police. Okay. She's talking about how she doesn't want to defund the police, but she's been talking about this crap since 2016 when she was a senator. Like, she's all over the damn place with defund the police. And now all of a sudden that she's getting her ass kicked about it. No, that was just, we're not going to do that anymore. When she said bloodbath, okay, he's not talking about people actually spilling blood. Donald Trump's not a warrior.
In reference to what? Bring us back.
So when she said that there would be a bloodbath if Trump wasn't elected, using his words. So Trump said, if I'm not reelected in 2025, right, there will be a bloodbath.
Right.
Okay. Right. He was not talking about actual blood being spilled. He was talking about the economy because he's a business person, and he's talking about a bloodbath in economics. And that's just used as speak for a really bad day in the market.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
All sorts of people use that term to not describe the spilling of actual blood. It's just a saying to describe bad news bears day.
Yeah. He's not fucking Braveheart. He's not William Wallace charging into a field and creating a bloodbath, right?
Right.
January 6th, obviously another lie. Project 2025. Over and over and over. Stated absolutely not his platform. He is Project 47. Okay. Haitian migrants eating pets. Okay, I've got a whole thing about this. We're going to come back to that one. And then fracking, right? Over and over and over again, she has come on and talked about how she wants to end fracking in the United States. She cannot walk back from that kind of crap, right? So, I don't know, just a big fat liar talking about this crap. There's at least 10 that we could find. So
the fracking thing is, so fracking, gun control, all of this stuff. I mean, so basically she's 60 for her entire political career has basically been walking closer and closer to these agendas, which is fine. I mean, by all means, you may absolutely have an opinion where you want to ban fracking. I totally can see why that's going to be important to you. You can absolutely want to stem gun control because it's obviously directly correlated to gun violence. That's a fantastic opinion to have and to hold and something to strive for. But to say that, okay, I've been around for 60 years and I believe this all for 58 of those years, but suddenly, no, I'm going to change my mind is crazy. Yes, people could change policy. You can change your mind on policy, but it's going to be small incremental change. You're not going to 180 over the course of a year or just
in an election year.
In an election year, to get votes. Like, this is what it is. You're trying to get votes. You're saying words that are not based in reality or fact or honesty so that you can acquire more votes.
Yeah. 40 days ago, she was all about this crap. Okay. 40 days ago. That's how long it took her to 180.
Yep.
Before she was presidential nominee, without any kind of democracy about it. And mind you, this is the same person who, when she was in California, sued Obama's administration about fracking in California. Okay. Like, she's not she's not for fracking all of a sudden. She's just not. So
if you have a strong opinion about something, like, it is very unlikely. I mean, just think about you, Zac, me, the listener. If you have a very, very strong opinion about something, how hard would it be for you to not go 90%, not a 90-degree turn where you become neutral on it, and you suddenly see the merits of the other side, and you see the fallacies of your own, but you go the extra 90, you do a full 180, where you're now like, yeah, actually, I was wrong. Like, how rare is that for anybody to really 180? I could think about in my life the last time it happened, and it was with Trump. And it was just a few months. It was on what?
Right.
J12.
I was just going to exactly say that point. Very rare. I have been proven wrong, and I have changed my attitude by being proven wrong. Okay. But it doesn't usually happen very often. Both being proven wrong and me changing my mind.
Right. Because I mean, like, we're talking about like some cardinal truths that you hold true.
Right. Your core identities.
Core identities. You know? You're not going to change those. Like, it would take something true. It would take something earth-shattering in your world to really move you to the other side. Something disastrous would have to happen in your life to move to the other side. Not disastrous, but some huge change. Okay. Right. I mean, normally it's slow. It's very, very slow change. If you think one thing one way and you're going to 180 on it, it's going to take a decade, to slowly get yourself there. For me on Trump, for example, it took 8 years. 8 years. And then finally something happened where I was like, oh shit, all the dominoes suddenly fell over. But yeah, I had to get there. And so just to think that, and it's not just one thing. How many things is she flipping? It's a cardinal, big pillars.
That's what I'm saying. She's run for political office for 30 or 40 years on these core values.
Yes, on these issues.
On these socialist justice warrior issues.
Yep.
Okay. You don't just stop being a social justice warrior overnight because you became president nominee. Okay. All of a sudden, you need independent votes. You need conservative votes. You need middle people votes. You can't just rely on your left-leaning votes anymore. You have to poll, and so you have to change all of your policies. She's just full of shit. She's not believable.
No. I really
Jesse, I need like a 2-minute break.
Go for it.
Okay. I'll be right back. I'm going to close my lid. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. In honor of our next topic, I brought on a special guest appearance.
That's amazing.
Yep. Sumi got me this beautiful Trump costume for my dog. And she says, fuck eating dogs and cats.
That's very cute.
I figured you would love this. I'm probably also going to dress her up like this for the debate. Or Donald for the election night.
That is very, very cute.
My dog Trump.
What does Donald Trump have to say about climate change?
Climate change, she doesn't really care. So long as it's warm, she's happy because she does not like going to the bathroom in cold weather. So I think she is for climate change. So
we heard it here first. Donald Trump in favor of climate change. So going to the bathroom is warm.
Yep.
Nobody likes. Well, it's fun to pee in the snow, but
nobody likes to poop in the cold.
Okay, I'm not even going to touch that. Yeah, that was adorable. Adorable.
It is adorable. Sumi was like, "Do not tell Jesse about it. Surprise him." I was like, "Okay,
All right,
I
you're
will.
gonna have to bring out Doggle Trump again
I
because
will.
you need to put Doggle Trump in the front of the camera, not
Yeah,
over here.
I will. I will go grab her on election night in her costume, and my dog Trump will run around."
Very, very cute. Very, very adorable.
So I want to get into what Donald Trump was saying about Springfield, Ohio, right? Um, this is like, it's a crazy statement where he's like, "Look, man, they're eating the dogs and the cats." And everybody's like, Donald Trump's stupid, right? But whether or not they're eating the dogs and the cats, when you start looking at the problem that Springfield, Ohio, and I'm sure there are many, many, many small towns just like Springfield, Ohio, that are having the same issues that they are with the migrant crisis. And I'm sure almost all of our southern states are having issues with this crap. New York, most of California, right? There are massive issues within this country. I know Chicago is fucking having problems, right? Philadelphia, it is everywhere. This is a national problem, right? But let's just focus on Springfield for this moment. Over the last 5 years, over between 15 and 20,000 Haitians have been put into a town of 58,000 people. Okay. 1/3 for those of you who can't do math. 1/3. That's a lot.
And what does that mean
Okay.
about local infrastructure? How does that?
That's what I'm getting at, right? So you think about your town or your city increasing its population size by 1/3 within 4 years, 5 years. What does that mean for the healthcare system? What does that mean for the education system? What does that mean for people that don't know how to drive in the United States, getting driver's licenses and running around? I mean, there are many, many, many reports of people getting killed in traffic violations. There was an 11-year-old school kid that got killed when a Haitian migrant ran into a school bus. Okay. Like, this stuff is all over the place. So put the explosive inflammatoriness of, eating dogs and cats aside for a second, really, and just look at the actual problem. They have the governor of the state sending military to that city. He's putting aside $2.5 million just for healthcare to that city. Like, this is insane. Like, there isn't a problem there, right? And all of a sudden, there is a problem, and Donald Trump shone the spotlight on it, right? So how many other small towns are faltering out there because of the Kamala and Biden administration?
I have a question for you real quick, and then
Yeah,
and then an analogy for you.
yeah.
What is going on in Ohio? Why is all the shitty things happening in Ohio? We had the train derailment that was crazy toxic. It happened actually again just recently. I can't remember the name of the town, but started in Palestine, and now it's or East Palestine the name of the town?
East Palestine,
East Palestine, Ohio, and then it happened again just recently, like literally another derailment or another toxic thing just went up in flames. All these people are just getting fucked left and right. All these stories seem to be coming out of Ohio, and I'm not tracking why. Why now is Springfield?
I don't know. There's a viral video of a lady killing a white cat and eating it, and that was in Canton, Ohio. It wasn't Springfield. You start digging around in this crap trying to find something, and you find all kinds of other crap, right? I mean, prostitutions, murders, rapes, all of that. Huge spikes in this town in 2023 and 2024, right? 2022, that started going up. People started complaining in city council meetings. I mean, they have been talking about this in Springfield for years, and it's just now hitting the national stage because Donald Trump said something inflammatory on presidential debate, right?
So to this point, though, just real quick, the analogy would be, so other people can kind of grasp this. So I live in Seattle. The greater metropolitan area has a population of, it's a little over 1.5 million people. Okay. So to bring the analogy home, Imagine if 500,000 people suddenly showed up in Seattle, in this greater metropolitan area, all the big cities and towns that surround us. Okay, we
Right.
already have crippling traffic.
Yeah.
We already have a homeless problem, right? There's just nothing really good. There's a reason why I left Seattle to a town
Yeah.
that's like an hour away, just to
Right.
escape all the mayhem. And now you're going to throw 500,000 people in here. I'm telling you right now, if that was to happen, Seattle would crush, would crumble. It would become it would be in the top 10 cities, the most violent and crazy cities in the world to live in overnight.
Absolutely.
And
Overnight.
so now this is happening at a smaller scale, but
Yeah.
in places like Springfield.
Yeah.
How can that happen? How can every third person that you see be a complete foreigner, has no idea who you are, your cultures, your mannerisms, your laws, how the country works, the civics, nothing. They can't speak your language, or if they can, it's really broken.
Right.
How can they be expected to succeed? And more importantly, how are they going to contribute?
Yep.
They can't.
Nope. And they're getting vouchers for housing there, right? So that people are kicking out the people from Springfield, Ohio, and moving Haitians in for their vouchers because they get money from the government for it. Okay. So there is an increasing amount of people from Springfield, Ohio that cannot find residence, thus becoming homeless or needing to move to another state or city, right? Could you imagine being uprooted because you rented instead of bought a house?
Right.
And now you can't live in the place that you grew up in, right?
Pure insanity.
That's insane.
It is.
That's infuriating.
So
okay, and so all of this culture shock is happening, right? All of this culture shock is happening. People are in town hall meetings saying we are having massive issues with culture, right? Okay, so let's look a little bit at the Haitian culture, right? Who are they as a people? Looking at their religion, first of all, because religion is a cornerstone of who you are as a person. Okay, we're talking 70% Catholics, right? 30% Protestants. All of those people, 100% voodoo, right? They mix voodoo in with their Catholic and their Protestant religion. It is proven fact. Here's a quote, right? It's a popular saying in Haiti. Haiti is 70% Catholic, 30% Protestant, 100% voodoo. Okay. It's a popular saying from Haiti, right? So you look at the State Department. The State Department says societal leaders in Haiti estimate 50 to 80% of the population practices some form of voodoo, often blended with other religion, usually Christianity. Okay. So what is voodoo, right? They make offerings to the spirits. Those offerings are usually animal sacrifices. Then they have a communal meal of that sacrifice. And you have to wonder, maybe they are eating the dogs and the cats and the wildlife. Because if their religion is a core identity of who these people are, and we just picked them up from Haiti and put them in Springfield, Ohio, how could they not bring their religion with them? Nobody else would do that. If you picked me up and you put me somewhere, I would want to play Dungeons and Dragons or computer games. I'd be like, why the fuck does the internet lag?
Right.
Okay. I'm a nerd. That is a core fundamental part of who I am as a person. Okay. You ain't stripping that from me just because you moved me to a new location. I'm still going to want a game. I'm still going to want to do stupid ass shit like that. Haitians are going to still want to practice their livelihoods and their religions. Okay. So I hate to say it, but if they're practicing voodoo and part of that core religion is animal sacrifice and then communal eating of that sacrifice, we just have to be thankful that they're not bringing the practice of eating human beings over with them, because there is cannibalism in Haiti. Okay.
Wow.
And you can fact check me on that. So just be glad that currently it is just small animals. Okay. And so I read a report. How do you protect your animal in a country that practices voodoo? Well, you have to maim your animal. You have to cut off an ear. You have to cut off part of its tail. You have to scar it. because it's not a perfect specimen anymore. If it's not a perfect specimen, you can't use it for voodoo because it doesn't appease the spirits. Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, there's nobody talking about it on the internet. There's no government officials. There's nobody saying, oh my gosh, there's a real problem in Springfield, Ohio. But I'm going to tell you right now, as a person, if there's some core fundamental part of my belief system or life, you better believe that I'm bringing it with me to wherever I land, especially if I'm backed up with an entire third of a city's population.
Exactly. And yeah, people bring culture. It's what you bring with you, if nothing else. And
That
you
is
need a
going
way
to be the
express
end of
it.
my rant right there.
Okay, so no, it's not. I will reignite the rant, but I figured what I would do here real quick. Let's just talk a little bit. I'm just going to read so that everybody kind of has a baseline knowledge of what we're talking about, because the what everybody thinks right now that you're talking about is people taking pin dolls and casting black magic on people. That's what voodoo is. That's what people are thinking. I guarantee you.
No.
Because had I not grown up in West Africa, I would also have that belief, because that's the Western misunderstanding. So I'm just going to read this thing so people have an
Before you
understanding.
do, and I want everybody to understand that there's a lot of people that think that voodoo is the oldest practicing religion in the world, dating back 6,000 years. Okay, this is not just black magic and curses and pin dolls like what Jesse's saying. Okay, this is a core religion for a lot of people throughout the world.
Exactly, it's a syncretic religion.
Sorry.
It's a syncretic religion. So voodoo has its roots in the traditional religions of West Africa, particularly from the Fon and Ewe people in present-day Benin and Togo, as well as the Congo and Yoruba traditions. When these Africans were forcibly brought to Haiti, then Saint Dominique, the religion practices merged with the elements of Catholicism, which was imposed by the French colonizers, leading to the creation of voodoo. Voodoo is a monotheistic religion at its core, recognizing a supreme creator deity known as Bondai, from the French bon Dieu, which means good God. However, Bondai is considered too distant to interact with humans directly, or voodooisants, aka practitioners of voodoo. They interact with a pantheon of spirits known as Iwa or Iowa. So these spirits are intermediates between humans and Bondai. Each has their own personalities, histories, and rituals. So the spiritual practices, voodoo involves rituals to honor and communicate with Iwa, which is your medium to Bondai. These rituals include ceremonies, often held in a temple, where drumming, singing, dancing, and spirit possession may occur. They have offerings. Practitioners offer food, drink, and perform animal sacrifices. This is often misunderstood or sensationalized, but this is the fact. All right, this is a ritual act to give back to the spirits. During these ceremonies, there's possession might occur. So Iwa might possess the participant, speaking through them, offering advice or healing. And then lastly, but not last year, or at least I should say, they have these symbolic drawings made up on the ground that you use like cornmeal or ash to kind of create these symbols, and each of them represents specific Iwa and are used to invite the spirit during these rituals. So there you go. And so it's not just hocus pocus. Right? This goes back to West Africa, which goes back to the dawn of man, really.
Yeah.
And so yes, this is the thing that occurs. And so what Zach was talking about earlier, though, is that you have the media saying that, hey, there is no cats or dogs being eaten in Springfield. The thing is, has anybody actually seen a CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC reporter on the ground in Springfield? Raise your hands.
I saw one.
Who did you see?
She was some cute little girl that was sent to Springfield, Ohio to investigate the claims of that. But she just talked to white people.
Nice. So Tyler Oliveira, which is an ex, account out there, went and spent, a few days interviewing the people of Springfield. And guess what the people of Springfield had to say? Shit's happening.
Yeah.
animals are going missing. They're not saying that they're being eaten necessarily, but they're saying their pets are gone. And this has been happening for years and years, like, these last 5 years.
Yeah.
These interviews are not being conducted by big media or legacy media, I should say. They're being conducted by small little entities just trying to talk to the people to get the message out.
Yeah.
And if you talk directly to the people of Springfield, Ohio, they're freaking out. Now this is exactly why we need a sugar daddy to basically say, Zac, Jesse, we're going to make you financially independent to go fucking talk to people around the country. Because this would be the perfect opportunity, man. We would roll up with politics at the tavern and our big old bus that opens up into a public bar, and we would get free beer and have great conversation all night long. People would come up and tell their stories, and we would just record them. People that want to talk into the camera, talk into the camera. People that don't, no big deal. But we're going to be there. We're just going to have a good time, and we're going to air out the shit. We're not there to prove a point or anything. We just want to hear what you have to say. Because at the end of the day, we're just the masses, just like you, right? We're just part of the people, and this is a perfect example of where we can literally go in and just demystify all this bullshit. So easy. We could prove it one way or another, and we wouldn't hide anything. We got nothing to hide. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm just mystified that anybody would not realize that you bring a bunch of people to America, their culture isn't going to be the same as the American culture. There is going to be culture shock. It may be generations before we have some semblance of, a culture here that we can call American. And it's definitely going to change. It wasn't what it was 20 or 30 years ago. It'll be different, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of diversity in our culture, just so long as everyone is, wanting the best for America, and they're thinking about how the American people can prosper. So
exactly. So there's another lie. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if we're in a place where 2/3 of a city are terrified that their pets are going to be eaten, or that they're going to have a confrontation with somebody that has a different culture than them, and maybe their culture is a little bit more rough around the edges because that's the way that they live in these third world countries. I can imagine that would be terrifying.
Yep. And so just to double onto this sentiment here, there is, just look historically at what happens when you mix clashing cultures, or they don't have to be clashing. When you have two very, very different cultures and they end up meeting, right? Historically speaking, it does not end well for one of those two peoples. It just doesn't. It doesn't even matter. They could literally agree on everything, except they might do 2 or 3 things differently, diametrically differently, and they're going to go right to war with each other. And so and the United States is an interesting, they call it the experiment, because we have a whole bunch of people that were coming in the United States from all over Europe, right? And we are all coming from Western beliefs. You had the Irish, the Italians, right, to kind of span the gambit there of Europe, and everybody in between coming to the U.S. And they were coming over here and then kind of making roots. And when the United States was founding, that was fine, especially in the early 1900s, early 1800s. There was more than enough room for people to kind of come over here and then go build their own parts of town. They would move up into, the mountains on the east. They would make their way over to California or Oregon. They would settle in Kansas, right? You have all these different peoples, but that's why we have states, right? We have all these different states, a whole bunch of people with their own unique ways of thinking and doing stuff. And if you didn't like the way that they were doing it in your state, you would get the hell out, or they would probably shoot you. If you're a big enough problem, they'd just shoot you, right?
Yeah.
It's get the fuck out. And that's how the United States, the experiment was working. So now today, in the woke culture, they have this perception, this naive perception, that you can bring everybody together and everybody's going to get along. How naive. That's just not human nature, right?
I think you dated somebody with a coexist tattoo, didn't you?
Yes. I did. But to not derail this, the fact is that's just not the way it works. We should absolutely coexist. 100%. But you and me have the right to build up our own communities, our own cultures, and the way that we work together, right? And to do that well, depending on how different we are, we need the more different we are, the more geographical space we need, so that we're not bumping shoulders. That's just human nature. And if we get too close, we go to war.
I was just going to say, I think that the one caveat to something like that is when you have a uniquely American culture where we try to adhere to this welcoming experience where racism doesn't exist and all of this crap. Gay people have whatever rights they want. It's going to be interesting to see when, we start having problems where a subset of the culture decides that they want Sharia law enacted. And there are no longer gay people.
I mean, it's happening in the UK right now.
I know it is. Okay, I'm bringing this up for a point. And women have to be clothed in a certain way. We're going to have a serious problem when we have something like what the UK is experiencing right now in America. We have guns. Okay, they don't. It's going to be a really bad problem. I mean, and I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just showing that there is a problem. There are people in town hall meetings talking about using armed resistance against migrant, in their opinion, invasions. Okay. So,
like it or hate it, that's why
something has to happen before something happens.
We have the right to bear arms for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. We don't have the same problems that's happening in the UK right now. We have a very different problem. But the fact is that the great experiment works because we have the geography to support it. The UK does not have it, and it's immediately crashing.
Yeah. There's problems even in Canada where Muslim communities are asking or maybe telling that Sharia law is going to be a thing. Okay. So, good luck, Canada. Good luck, UK.
Right.
Will
not end well. That's for damn
It's not
sure.
going to end well.
No, not at all. Did you have anything else with this debate thing? I do want to kind of just bring it up here to kind of conclude this. So the debate has definitely sparked some interesting actions from our president. Slowly but surely, some of the mystery, the mystique of Kamala Harris suddenly receiving the nomination from the DNC, and literally everybody just kind of crowning her president nominee. Trump was, I don't even know where he was. He was somewhere. I can't remember where this happened, but he was interacting with a gentleman who had a Trump hat on. And he had kind of like just a hat. I don't think it was political. It was just more like a president of the United States hat. And he was.
You're talking about Biden.
Biden, yeah, I'm talking about Biden. So Biden is talking to this gentleman wearing a red hat, and they're just kind of shooting the shit. They're just being very cordial, kind of going back and forth and whatnot. And Biden is kind of giving out these hats that are just kind of like little keepsakes. That, okay, you met the president type deal, and he signs it. But in exchange for giving over this hat with his little presidential seal on it, he wants the gentleman he's talking to, he wants his Trump hat. And so Biden takes the hat from him, right? They exchange hats, and Biden puts it on his head in front of all these cameras and whatnot. So now Biden is wearing this red Trump hat, and he knows, he's got a big smile on his face.
He's looking straight into the camera. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yes. Yep. And then at the end of the day, right, he wraps everything up. He heads back to the airport. He's going to get on, Air Force One to head back to wherever he's going now, whichever beach he wants to go hang out on. And he's got the hat in his hand for everybody to see.
Different hat.
No, it's the red Trump hat. He's got the red Trump hat.
It's a different hat, but it is a red hat.
Is it? It's not the Trump hat?
It's not the Trump hat. Not the one that he was wearing at that meet and greet. He gave that back to the guy. But it is a red hat. I had to look it up because I was like, what is going on there?
Yeah. Well, it's still interesting. He's sending, I mean, there is some messaging.
Yeah.
There's 100%.
He's for sure messaging somebody. Like, you don't run around with a red hat.
No.
As a Biden or Harris administration person.
No.
That's like touching hot coals.
Yeah.
Politically.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
It's great. It's great. I love every second of that.
Oh yes,
Because I have to like conspiracy theory. Zach is like, why is Biden sending messages? Who's he sending messages to? Is he sending it to Kamala? Is he sending it to the deep state? Is he saying, play nice, give me what I want as I'm leaving? You know, he's got to be asking for some kind of immunity for his family. You know, he's got it. Something's there, right? He's like, do you want me to endorse Donald Trump? Because I'll do it. I know he's already endorsed Kamala, but he could take that back.
He can endorse whoever he wants at any point in time.
Obviously, you can change your mind about whatever the fuck you want to immediately, and it's still politically relevant in this election cycle.
Exactly.
If Donald Trump came out and said, 180-degree inverse of what he's saying right now, and he's like Team Biden all of a sudden, no one would believe him.
Right.
No one would believe him.
No. It's really strange though, coming from Biden. I think because Biden's been doing this for 50 years, and he's been a Democrat the whole time. And so we're just talking about how people don't just suddenly change lanes. They don't just suddenly change their mind 180 degrees. And so this is interesting. I don't think his mind has changed. I think this is an artifact. This is a reaction to something that happened in the White House, to the fact that he is literally on a beach. I don't think he wants to be sitting on a beach. Biden doesn't strike me as the kind of dude who just hangs out on beaches. No offense. I mean, he's an old guy. Like the sun and all that is just gonna wrinkle him up and kill him, right? So he strikes me as the kind that's sitting inside, doing things.
That's what he's trying to get,
Yeah.
And death by sun.
I think it's kind of interesting. So my point is this: because he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who just wants to hang out on a beach all day. I don't know. Just doesn't strike me as that dude. He's doing it because he's in public and people can see him being there. Yeah. Not in the White House.
Right. Making policy.
I don't think his point is, hey, look at me, I'm not doing anything because I'm the president. I'm just going to take all this vacation. I think his point is,
that's an interesting point.
Look at me, I'm not doing anything. Put one and one together, America.
Who's running this show right now?
Exactly. He's visibly irate. Like this whole exchange with the hat was perfect. He put it on.
He's pissed.
Yeah. And so that's my 2 cents anyway.
Yeah. It's good, dude. I like it. I like that. That's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I've been watching reaction videos, and there's so many good points out there, about how Kamala is the wrong person for this. She's just not changing anybody's mind about who she is with this bullcrap 40 days in. No one is convinced that she's changed who she is. No one.
No.
You might tell yourself you are, but you're not. Deep down inside, you know who she is. She's the opposite of Trump. That's why you're voting for her. So
I was in San Jose last week. Ubered all over the place. I talked to at least a dozen people who were shuffling me around to all these various places I had to be at. Okay.
Yeah.
And I asked every single one of them how they felt about the selection.
Yeah.
And literally every single one of them surprised me. They were very cautious, by the way, with what they were saying.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's a really interesting election. It's crazy that Trump's back in it. We didn't think he'd be running again, yada, yada, yada. And then you just talk, kind of, establish some rapport. And then I'd kind of leak a little bit about this. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm lifelong Democrat. I've been voting Democrat since I could possibly vote. And they're like, oh, yeah, me too. I do a lot of voting on the blue. I was like, yeah, it's interesting. But you know what? This election has me thinking. Like I'm not so sure because I didn't vote for Kamala. I didn't vote for her in 2020. I didn't think she did a good job then. Certainly don't think she's going to do a good job now. I'm like, what's she doing there? And then the dominoes start to fall, and every last one of them, by the time I got out of that Uber, told me they were voting for Trump, but they were too scared to say it.
Everybody's too scared to say it. Like, have you watched what's that quarterback for the Chiefs? Not Kelsey. The other one.
What is
the quarterback? Anyways, everybody's grilling
maybe?
him. Everybody's grilling him, and he's like, no. I don't want to get into politics. I don't want to talk shit about anybody. He's going to vote for Trump. He doesn't want to come out in front of everybody and say he's voting for Trump.
Yeah. I was sitting. So I was talking with many people in various agencies. Okay, it's just part of these conferences I was at. It doesn't even matter. It has nothing to do with national security, anything like that. It's just
Right.
I work in cybersecurity.
It's a
So
networking. It's a networking event.
That's exactly what we're doing, and we're literally just talking about hackers and how we're all fucking tired of it. That's why we're there. We're literally it's a bitch fest.
Right.
That's all we're at. So
Yeah.
like, people stop hacking our shit, and then we're like, yes, please. And then I was like, hey, you agency person, can you stop hacking my shit? And they're like, they're in the headlights. But you know, after these conferences, we'd go out and go get some drinks, go get some food or whatever, and we sit there and talk. And same thing though, they would be like, they would get so close to the conversation. And because if you're in the government, you're paid not to have an opinion. You're literally paid like you have no opinion.
I remember very specifically, do not have an opinion.
Yeah, it's just the way it works, and that's how our government functions. Because you're there to serve the people. You're there to do your job, not to have your job. You don't want to be influenced in any sort of political way, which is perfect, right? That's exactly how everybody should be.
That's the way it's supposed to be running.
At the end of the day, personally, you're totally allowed to have your own opinion, and you're going to act on that opinion. And I would talk to all these guys, and I can't tell you how many would eventually just come out and say, it's like, listen, you didn't hear from me, but I'm voting for Trump. Every time. I'm surprised. I was talking to another guy, super high in my organization, and I was like, yeah, I was just kind of coming out. I know this particular individual quite. I was like, I'm just voting Trump. I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing. You can dance all around these topics all you want. He's like, oh, you can't say that. I was like, I can't say what? I'm voting for Trump? Shh. And he literally freaked out. I was like, you can't fucking say that. And I was like, well, I just did. Like, what's going to happen? Like,
are you going to fire me right now?
No, but you know, the reality is, our politics are so divisive right now that I could literally be fired for having that opinion. Yeah. And it's like, well, I'm not going to get fired for having that opinion. That will never be on paper. It'll be something else. You missed it.
Yeah, they'll come up with something. They'll come up with something else.
Your lunches have been far too long. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You know,
we've been keeping track of you for a year.
I'm in at will employee, and like, well, we just don't want to work with you anymore. Bye. That could be as simple as that. I get it, but the fact that that's where we're at, and that this guy was literally like freaking out when I said it. He was like, oh no. I was like, okay, maybe we have a problem. Like, are you scared of blue? And the answer is yeah. Scared of the fucking Democratic
Well, that's where all the
powerhouse.
money's at. That's where all the money is at right now.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of money floating around in the liberal circles.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's where the ESG score was coming from. You know, BlackRock is investing in this stuff because California is leaning on them to invest in a certain way. And so all of the companies out there are saying, oh, I got to follow this criteria to get funding from BlackRock, which is ultimately from California or New York, right?
Right.
Super liberal states that are investing their pension funds, places, putting their fingers on the scale for the rest of America, right? And it all boils down to money. You know, that's all it is. It's where the money's at. It's how they're investing their money. It's who they're investing their money with. And it's just literally where we are right now as a country socially.
Yeah.
It's insane to think that it all just came from fucking California saying we only want to invest our money in companies that are ESG.
And at the end of the day, that's kind of like, you know, the backbone of America. It's like it's your money, deal with it what you want. But it's gotten to the point now where, like you said, their thumbs are weighing every fucking scale that they want. They have so much of the money that we literally can't compete. There's just no way. Like, we can't win this conversation.
Nope.
The second if our podcast started to pop off and we continue talking about this shit, Google would
canceled.
They would shut down our podcast. 100%.
Absolutely, they would.
They were like, no way. These guys are getting
either shadow banned or actual banned.
We'd probably be shadow banned, yeah, and that'd be good enough. If we get like 1,000 subs to make, wait a second, who are these guys? Oh wait, they're pro-Republican. Done.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like neither one of us are seriously pro-Republican.
No.
Okay. Jesse, absolutely 100% left. You know, he's just decided the Democrats are out of fucking control right now. I'm very much a moderate, independent, but I lean conservative on almost every issue. Right. But I would never just vote Republican because they're Republican.
No.
Right. I mean, right now I'm doing it, but it's because the Democrats have lost their fucking minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the party of the Democrats not left in.
We're talking
US
about the
citizens.
institution. We're talking about the institution.
I'm never going to just say, you know, my wife and average ordinary liberals have lost their minds.
No.
They may not be paying attention to what the fuck is going on, which I don't like, but
they don't.
It is what it is.
In California, these same people, by the way, I brought up to like, hey, do you realize that both your House and your Senate they passed a bill that would give illegal aliens $150,000 for a down payment towards a house? And they're like, no, that's not accurate. And I literally had it on my phone because I knew they were going to talk about it. I just show it to them, and they'd be like, what? Like, how could this fucking be? I was like, well, luckily Newsom's playing a game and vetoed it. And so you're very lucky that he decided to. I don't know why. I'm not sure what long con he has here. But they were all 12 people. I was telling you, it was about 12 people that I ended up Ubering around with. None of them knew that this was the thing. Not a single one, and they live in the goddamn state. And the fact, most people don't realize that Nancy Pelosi also from California, right? Nancy Pelosi from California, Kamala Harris
San Francisco.
from California. So if you want, it basically looked to California for their vision of what this country needs to look like.
Yeah,
it's not a good one.
There's a lot of people that have this opinion that if you have the most money, you should have the most say. It's why the Electoral College exists. It's to give rural America a voice. And I know we've gone into it about the Electoral College and everything like that, but it's just literally to keep people from going to LA and saying, you're people of LA, you're the only ones that matter in the country. Right?
Yep.
You got to give Idaho a voice. You know, we are Americans. You got to give Kansas a voice. You know, Arkansas, you got to give them a voice. Right? It can't all just be about California and New York.
Right.
Chicago.
Yeah. The big cities. I'm developing an opinion on the Electoral College. I'm not.
It's strange when you educate yourself about why it was there in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you see the damage that's happening right now in front of us, and you're like, that's why it was there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our country's structured the way it's structured. Ding.
But
it's crazy.
I'm not going to get into the Electoral College right now.
Jesse has COVID, probably.
I probably do.
too much elbow rubbing with other people that have been vaccinated 4 times.
Dude. So
sorry.
Thank God I only just got the original shot. So I got the shot. That's like a 2-part shot. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
I didn't get any boosters or anything like that. And apparently, in studies,
everybody that got a booster is fucking them up,
dude. So if you did get the booster, if you got that first booster, your what are they called? IgG4 antibody count spikes, right? It stays high, and what that antibody does is it modulates your immune system, and so for whatever reason, when you get that booster, this effect happens, and if your IgG4 levels are too high, you're more susceptible to just any kind of sickness because those things will just suppress, your modulate is what they call it, but it'll suppress your immune system, and who knows for how long. But in study after study after study, those numbers are high in people that had 1 or more boosters. So thank God I didn't get it. But I'm definitely living with long-term effects right now of COVID. Yeah. Fucking shot. I don't want to get into it, man. I'm going to get all pissed off again.
I'm just going to say, disclaimer, we're not anti-vaccine.
No.
Please don't put a banner on this episode because we talked about it for 3 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to get into it. Not even going to get into it. No, we're going to get it now. We're going to get this just because you brought it up. We're done. This whole podcast.
Save it for the next one so that we can only get like a 10-minute podcast banned instead of a 2-hour podcast ban.
Oh man. Yeah, we're gonna have to move over to Rumble.